Hi, I'm Todd Courtney, co-creator with my wife Jackie of the Max Rhymes Children's Series. And because so many people have asked us how we started Max Rhymes, I thought it'd be just easier to create this video so people can just watch it at will. So here's our story, and it gets kind of wild as well. So in January 2006, I asked God to do something else with my life. Very simple. I just looked up and said, please, God, give me something else to do with my life. I know I'm no PhD, I'm not, but I know I could do a lot of things. And it's not that I wasn't happy. I was. And on the outside, things look wonderful. I mean, you could take a look at these pictures here. This was the home that we lived in on this private golf course. I had the beautiful wife, the beautiful kids, the proverbial white picket fence, and the dog. And to most people, they might think, what's wrong with you? You have it all. Why do you want to give that up? But I knew inside something was missing for me. And I didn't want it on my tombstone, world's greatest insurance guy. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just wasn't fulfilling for me. And my heart was telling me to stretch for something new. It was as if I was supposed to be doing something different. But unfortunately, I had absolutely no idea what that different meant or what it looked like. So I just simply said, if you like the path, I'll take the journey. And let's just say it becomes somewhat of a be careful what you wish for story. So I got the great idea at the time to write a book for teenagers and teach them how to focus in one direction. Here's a picture of it right here, and hence the title of the book, Thinking in One Direction. And and a little later, I got a crazier idea about creating an animation video for kids with leukemia. I had no idea how this one came to me. And plus, I had two major problems. I didn't know anything about leukemia. Nobody in my family or friends had it. And I didn't know anything about animation. So there's no way I could do this project. And so for 6 months, I kept blowing it off and pushing it in the back of my mind. But for that same 6 month period, I kept getting that proverbial needle in the back. And then one fateful morning, when I was in this field, I think we got some pictures here to show you of exactly where I was. And it was about dark 30. It was sunrise time. And I got this voice in my head again saying, look, you need to do this project. And I said, no, I don't know how. And it said, look, you asked to do something else with your life, so do it. I caved and I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. But I don't know anything about either subject. So you have to put the right people in my path. Yeah, you might think I'm a little crazy, but that is literally verbatim with the dialogue that was going on in my head that morning. So I get this other crazy idea to put an ad on Craigslist. I don't even know why. Okay. And it said new startup company in Silicon Valley, trying to make it look bigger than it was, looking for an animator to help kids with leukemia. And on the last line, I put, must be willing to bet on the come. Yeah, some people chastise me for being another schmuck wanting free work, but that wasn't it at all. I was just trying to figure this out. But other people replied, and I was able to pick their brains. And it turned out I wasn't ready for an animator yet anyway, because I had to write a script, and then you have to take that script into a recording studio with voice actors, and then you give that recording to an animator. So it just goes to show you I had no clue as to what I was doing. So 3 months go by, and I get this this email reply from my Craigslist ad from this guy in India. His name was Nilesh Patel. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Here's another scam. Somebody's gone to Europe or whatever, an internet scam, and they need money. But and I don't know if you know how Craigslist works, but if you put an ad on Craigslist, you're the top. So somebody looking, you're going to be the first ad they see, and then somebody else goes on, somebody else, and somebody else. Before you know, you just get pushed down, and over time, and I don't even know what page I would be on 3 months later, maybe 7, 8, maybe 15 for all I know. So I don't know how this guy from India finds me outside of fate. But I entertain him and we go back and forth for another 3 months because, as I said, I wasn't ready anyway. But this guy never goes away. So I start to feel, wow, he must be legitimate in some way. So I finally send him some money from my bank to his, and he performs. And actually, he does quite well. Now, the story gets even better, but it also gets a little sad as well. But first, a new insurance client of mine was referred to me by a friend in one of my real estate meetings, actually. And we start talking, and it turns out she was a Harvard grad. She was top of her class, and she actually taught med students at Harvard after she graduated. And her specialty, get this, was oncology. And then at the time I meet her, and this is way later now, she works for a scientific research firm company for cures on leukemia. I'm like, what? And so she loves the project. So she helps us and me with the science and the knowledge and consults with me on the project. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And then about halfway through that animation project, Nilesh from India tells me that his little brother contracted leukemia. And I'm thinking, what? What are the odds that that could even happen? So I asked Dr. Gail Brown if it can be cured. And she said, well, probably not in a third world country. Sadly, his brother passed away before the video was completed. But Nilesh, and I both know we were connected for a reason that is more powerful than us, as strange as that may sound. So, in fact, if you know anybody or any kids with leukemia, they can watch the video free. We keep it free at justimagineif.org, as it's shown here on this screen. So then one day, my wife, Jackie, an elementary school teacher, says, maybe we ought to write children's books. And I'm like, well, I don't want to write children's books. There's enough cute books in the world. I want to help people. And so she's like, okay, whatever. And then one fateful night, Jackie and I are both reading in bed, and I was reading The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but he's the world's authority on epigenetics. And I didn't even know what epigenetics meant. I'd never heard of that either. But hey, this is the kind of stuff everybody reads at night for fun, right? Sure. So about halfway through that book, my mouth about drops. And I said, oh my gosh, Jackie, you're right. We do have to write children's books. And here's why. And so I showed her the page on that, and it talks about how early brainwaves and our programming affects children, and why it's so hard for adults to ever change their behavioral patterns. And so for some reason, this was so powerful. It just got ingrained in me that I had to write children's books, but not just any books, books that could and would make a difference in the child's life. But now I understood what epigenetics meant, and I knew how to write affirmations, and I also knew the science. And then when I thought about how I could still recite Humpty Dumpty after all these years, like many people in my generation, it hit me. Nursery rhymes that taught valuable lessons, because rhymes are sticky in the mind. And I also just happened to have the gift of rhyming. So Jackie and I started this new project, but I still had to finish the teen book that I started, and I had to finish the animation video. And then I asked Nilesh if he could do the illustration work for us for Max Rhymes to the books. He said, yeah, it's much easier than animation. So at this point, we could sense that Max Rhymes was going to be much larger than us, way bigger than the teen book and the animation video. In fact, I didn't even have time to market those products. I just needed to finish them and shelve them so we can focus on Max Rhymes. But it's funny because as I go back and connected all the dots back then, it turned out that all of those projects had to happen not only for me to acquire the knowledge that I needed to do Max Rhymes, but also to connect with Nilesh to do the illustrations for Max Rhymes. But even with all that, I was exhausted mentally, physically, financially. And a year after we moved, which was 2016, I'm so tired and beat up and frustrated. One day I go home for lunch from the office, and I'm alone in our 100-year-old, much smaller home. And I want to scream and yell at God. So I go to the smallest room in the house. Here's an image right here of the bathroom, so that way no neighbors can't hear me. And I look straight up and I yell, this is crazy. What do you have me doing? I don't know. I can't take this any longer. And I'm ranting and raving for probably about 20 seconds. And then all of a sudden I stop and I look myself straight in the mirror and I say, wait a minute, I can do this. I can do anything. And just then this whoosh came through my body from head to toe. And I'm like, oh my God, did I just piss? I said this verbatim. Oh shit, did I piss somebody off? And then instantly I had the thought of, oh my God, I think I just swore at God. And then I sat back on the toilet lid and I look up and I said, are you telling me I'm on track? Question mark, question mark. And whoosh, I get this flood of energy through my entire body again. And for about 30 seconds, I remember being able to ask yes or no questions. And for yes, I'd get this rush of energy. And for no, I would get nothing. But for the life of me, even right after, I wasn't able to remember any other questions but the first one. Are you telling me I'm on track? So I said, okay, I'll keep going. And I promise I will never complain again. Well, I lied. Because over time, frustration levels were rising again. the money I was spending, the time I was spending was just a lot to absorb, especially for someone who didn't really know what or why they were doing what they were doing, why they were doing it. And so anyway, the writing was on the wall for me to start putting up my business for sale. So, but how do I do that? I mean, that's my livelihood. And around March that same year, 2019, my wife, my daughter, and I were driving to Reno, Nevada, going through the Tahoe National Forest, going to visit our sons who are going to UNR, attending college there. And we're driving, and we don't even have the radio on at the time. And my wife and daughter all asleep. And all of a sudden, what just belts out of my mouth is this Dixie Chick song. Don't you know? Things will change. Things will go your way. If you hold on to one more day, things will go your way. Yeah, no, I don't have a great singing voice, but that wasn't the point. So Jackie wakes up and she says, well, how did you think of that? And I go, I don't know. It just popped out of my mouth. She goes, well, yeah, but how? I mean, did you hear it on the radio earlier? And I'm like, no, it just came out. And I said, I haven't heard that song for years. And she's like, well, that's strange. And then it hit me. I said, but yeah, Jackie, listen to the words. It was like perfect timing for the message I needed to hear. Don't you know, things will change. Things will go your way if you hold on for one more day. So I did. And a few months later, in May of 2019, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. And we get home with my parents from dinner, and I drop them off at their hotel. I happen to be staying someplace different down the street. And as I'm walking down the street, I'm hearing like this wedding atmosphere on top of a two-story building, balcony, or whatever's going on a deck. And it sounded fun, so I stopped to listen. What do you think was playing? That's right. Don't you know? Things will change. Things will go your way. If you hold on for one more day, things will go your way. And there happened to be, for whatever reason, a park bench right when I stopped. I looked down. Oh my God. So I sat there. I listened to the rest of the song. I laugh. And I'm just kicking myself about, this is crazy. And then I called Jackie, who wasn't with me at the time. And I said, you won't believe what just happened. Or maybe by now you will. Then a friend tells me about this book called The Light Between Us by Laura Lynn Jackson. And I read it, and it's amazing. She's an intuitive and has all the clairvoyant, all the clairs actually. And she has all kinds of great stories in the book. So I finish it on a Sunday in late June, and I decide to ask for a sign on whether or not it's really time for me to sell the business, even with all those prior signs. And instantly what pops in my head, when a moving truck parks in front of my house, that will be my sign. And I thought, what? How did I think of that? That's a weird thing to think of. Why a moving truck? But whatever. Okay, that's my sign. And it was as if, the thought didn't come from me, because I wouldn't have thought of something so strange, to be honest with you. I'd never seen a moving truck park in front of our house. I put some reenactment video here and just took out the voice, but you can see me what I'm doing. I reenacted after that happened with the newspaper, everything. So anyway, the next morning I get up, I do my normal routine. I get ready for work and I pour a bowl of granola. I hear my father-in-law, who's living with us at the time, and he's watching a Clint Eastwood movie, and I'm all things Clint Eastwood. So I go and I sit down in the dining room table so I can see the TV, and I'm putting a spoonful up to my mouth. And right then I look out the window, which is on the right side, the TV. And before I can even put the spoon in my mouth, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I put it down. There's this very large United Van Lines big rig truck parked across the street. My mouth dropped. I mean, there's no way, this can't be real. And there was no house for sale that was around us. It turns out those neighbors who we didn't know were renters, and that's why there was no for sale sign. And that's how I knew I did not think of that thought. Somehow that thought was given to me from the other side, knowing that truck was going to be there the next day. So I think, okay, finally, it's time. Too many signs were happening. But now I still have one more request. I need to know if Jackie is going to be okay with this. I know she's already told me multiple times that she was fine, but I needed to really know, really, really, really know. Because like I said, this was an extremely hard decision. So that evening, I started reading Laura Lynn Jackson's other book called Signs. And again, I just happened to finish it the following Sunday night. So I think, okay, I need a sign now to know Jackie's going to be okay with me making this monumental change to our lives. So that very next Sunday, I thought of a new sign. When I see 3 monarch butterflies, I'll know Jackie is okay with me selling the business. Now, this time I kind of felt like maybe I thought of the butterflies. It was my idea, but I go with it anyway. It was the first thing that came in my mind. And of course, I'm a bit cocky now, thinking I'm going to see the sign the next morning. But morning comes and nothing. All right, maybe I'll see it at noon. Nothing. Maybe in the evening. Nothing. So then I go to my men's group at that Monday night, and I'm driving. I'm looking on the way. Nothing. So I come home, and my daughter's waiting for me to watch The Bachelor with her because that's what you do if you want to hang out with your daughter, right? So about 10 minutes in, my mouth drops, because so it was homecomings on The Bachelor, and that's where they introduced a possible winner of the show to the parents of The Bachelor. And they happened to be in their backyard. And then on the back fence were these three large, like 2 foot large butterflies as yard art mounted to the fence. Two of them were monarch butterflies, and the other one was very colorful, which it just hit me and struck me as the universe, God was laughing at me for needing to see so many signs. And I did laugh. And I couldn't believe it. So I paused the show. I explained my signs to my daughter, my wife. And here's the picture from the TV screen that I took. And of course, my wife says, I already told you I was fine. I said, yeah, but now I know for sure. Needless to say, at this point, I finally put the business up for sale. This was extremely challenging, to say the least, stressful, and truly has blood, sweat, and many tears. Ripping my kids from their childhood home, my wife from her dream home, created a lot of those tears. Plus, selling a well-established business for the complete unknown, you want to talk about scary. That's how it was for me. So this is the really shortest version of the story because there's a lot more serendipitous events that take place, but I just didn't want this video to be so long, and it's long enough as it is. But that is the primary story behind Max Rhymes and how it all began. Thank you for taking the time to listen.